Well, hello, I'm Joanna with Blissful Baby Sleep Coaching. I am here with another success story. Thank you so much for being here. We just finished sleep training their daughter, who is 8 years old, you guys. So many families come to me and they say, oh, I think I'm too late. And I just want everyone to know that all sleep challenges can be resolved. I work with children 6 months to 10 years of age. And so this is the story of an 8-year-old. So you guys, what was it like before you called me?
I mean, it was basically untenable. We did not think that whenever Ketting, sorry, well, when
That's
my,
okay.
my wife came to me to say that we were going to do this, we were in a place where I didn't really have any choices but to say yes. I wasn't a big fan of the idea, but we didn't really have an alternative. We were pretty desperate. Um, and really, the main thing that got me convinced to do it was lack of alternatives, but also we got referred by a friend to this, and I saw the father and asked him about it, and he's kind of a no nonsense kind of guy, and he was like, "Well, it sounds like a bunch of hullabaloo, but like it's the only thing that worked, and it 100% worked." And he told me that, and I was like, if he's saying that, then I'm way more like I thought, okay, well, it's worth a shot. So we were in a pretty bad place as a it was impacting our family dynamic. The youngest is the 8-year-old we're talking about, and she was basically um, just untenable in the evenings and was kind of invading all the rest of our personal space through the afternoon and early evening, and kind of holding her mom hostage on the whole and her sister for the whole sleep process in the evenings, and it was leading to us not sleeping very much. Fighting pretty much daily as a family, a lot of anxiety, a lot of stress. It was, in fact, it was impacting our marriage. It was impacting our relationship with our kids. It was just not a good place. I don't know if you have anything to add to that.
No, I think yeah, she just was starting around like 5 p.m. every day. It was like clockwork, just kind of started this meltdown process that would last until 8:30, 9, 9:30, 10.
Negotiating.
Yeah. And the only thing that would work is for us to give in and say, okay, you can sleep with your sister. And her sister is now 11 and doesn't want to sleep with her little sister every night. So it was just kind of unmanageable from everyone's perspective, even so, or I'm not saying, but even our daughters. So
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I just want to touch on something that Dad said that I think is really important is kind of the skepticism. Um, I think it's totally normal to be skeptical about like, wait a second, if we are in this really, really complicated situation, because it was complex, right? How can somebody help me untangle this and get me the results that I desire in like 3 to 4 weeks? Like, how can that even be possible? It sounds like
right.
magical thinking. And I love that Dad was like, yeah, I had to go to the other dad and be like, okay, wait, just like, come on, give it to me straight. Like, is this worth my time? Is this worth my money? Is this like, what's the value of this? Because I'm so desperate, but I also don't want to just throw money at something and like kind of have a Hail Mary and hope for the best. And that's the
I
thing
would say
is,
that on the other side of it, it's a fraction of the value that we would have paid for this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Glad I didn't tell you that at the beginning. But, yeah, it was, the money was nothing compared to what we've gotten out of it. So
yes, that
I
you,
did not think that at the beginning.
should I triple my
I
prices?
also probably didn't believe that we were going to be this successful this fast.
Exactly. Yeah. And so I would just say that like all of you that are listening are like, I'm skeptical. That's okay. Totally fine. The way you get around that skeptical component is ask your coach a ton of questions about, their training and their success rates, and go to their testimonials and look at that and ask to talk to other parents that have used, me or any other coach to really get that real life, like person to person experience, because that is okay to be skeptical, but let's not have it stop you from getting the help you need. Right.
Right.
And then the other thing that I want to mention about, your daughter and kind of like what was happening is like, It's true. Like starting at 5 o'clock at night when you guys were trying to have a peaceful, loving family dinner, it was like high drama because your child was already getting anxious about bedtime. Who was going to do it? Who was going to lay down with her? Who was going to sleep with her all night? And then it would just be all this resistance to move through the routine. And then and then finally it was this big, like, okay, I'll lay down with you, and then that person was held hostage both at bedtime and throughout the entire night. And it was depending on the night who was going to be held hostage. Was it the big sister that probably had homework to do? Was it going to be the mom? Was it going to be the dad that had a big business meeting the next day? So it was really affecting the whole family system. So once you guys hired me, which I'm glad you did, what was it like to go through the process? Again, you had this 8-year-old child. You're thinking, okay, this is weird. This is skeptical. I'm going to trust because we have a friend that had an older child and they were successful. But like, how is Joanna going to help me? Like, so what was great about the process for your family and your child?
Well, I think just the way you organized it, it was so, and because we're both like pretty type A people, we got out a calendar and really mapped out our process, and just seeing it on paper to me gave me hope that by a certain date, we would at least be in the middle of it or towards the end or at the beginning. And it provided some reliability on what the next steps were. And I think that translated it through to our daughter as well. But I really appreciated how you were so organized about it and said, okay, we're going to do a call today, or, on this certain day, what is the schedule? What time do you have? And you really were super flexible with our schedules. And it was a very methodical process, very thoughtful.
For sure.
And it worked. Like, we just put all our trust in you, and it worked.
It was a very condensed time frame too, which I think is probably one of the reasons why we were willing to jump off and take the leap of faith, because it seemed like it was going to be about a month of kind of committed time, which on the one hand seemed like how are we going to really preserve a month, but it's also doable, right? We could do that, and Joanna told us that she had 100% success rate, which we frankly probably didn't believe. but that gave us, it was like, hey, if we're hopeless, at least we'll know at the end of 4 weeks if we're truly hopeless.
Yeah.
Like, so I mean, the fact that it was not only structured, but that it was a time frame that was something we could make work, even though at first blush it did seem longer. It was pretty consolidated when we think about it. The other thing I think was really important, I mean, it was almost like, we're talking about it as like it's sleep therapy. I mean, it's really more like family therapy. I mean, there's different schools of thought on the problem we were trying to solve. Me and my wife didn't always agree on it. And having somebody who's an expert, we just kind of surrender to build that alignment on, hey, here's what we're going to do.
Yeah.
And there's no space for, like, we're totally aligned in it. We're paying for it. We're supporting each other through it. We each have roles in it. I think that was huge. And one of the main reasons why we were successful was just getting us on the same page on how to tackle the problem, and having a structure that we could sell to our daughter as, hey, this is the way it's supposed to work. Like, we're just not, our bad. We weren't doing it right before, but we're all gonna work together now and do it right going forward. And it's in your best interest. And that's kind of what made it work, I think.
I think what you just said, Dad, was so important, is that when we work with an older child, building the plan with the child 100% is part of the process. Like, she got to know me, we built a relationship, I asked her opinions. This idea of unity, like literally we came together, the 4 of us, right? Dad, mom, the daughter, me. So 4 people kind of on the team of this child, letting her know that we were her team, that we were totally behind her and supporting her, and giving her options and giving her some authority in this process. And we worked a lot on that at the beginning before we even started our night 1 of coaching. It was a lot of preparation to get her feeling supported and I think that's huge. And then I also agree the unity between the parents, right? Because often when you come like desperate, you guys have tried everything, you've had a million conversations about it, you've had all these, we're gonna do this
You've also had a million disagreements about it too.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
Right, exactly. And so by the time, to then have to come with somebody and then I hear both sides and then we kind of come to a unified decision and then we hold each other all accountable is huge, right? Because then we can make these incremental steps. And then also just want to touch on about this, busy schedule thing, like, right? Like dual income working family, very active in their parenting communities. The children have lots of different activities, like living in a big city, all of that, right? It's like we had to come up with a sleep plan that was able to accommodate all of those bits and
Different pickup
pieces.
schedules,
Yeah.
different pickup schedules for different kids based on,
Yeah, like we have all of those details and nuance matter when you're working with a family to have the incremental success each day. So let's talk about what it looks now. Okay, what does life look like now? What time is she going to bed? What time is she waking up? What is her attitude like going into bedtime?
I mean, it's night and day difference. She is just more calm. I'm more confident, but not in like she's just more maybe content in eating dinner and in the evening process of okay, now it's time for dinner. We're gonna go upstairs in a little while. We're gonna, have some time together. Then we're gonna, you're gonna take a shower. We're gonna get in bed. We're gonna read a little bit. And I think it's all very calming for her. And
she knows what to expect.
yeah, she knows what's coming next. And I think she needs it. I mean, she's told us that after being at school all day, and then she has basically an after school activity almost every day, that she needs some quiet time and some relaxation. And I think this has provided that for her, rather than the stress and the tension and the power struggle that we were going through before.
She was a very anxious kid, and now she's a lot less anxious. She has a lot less anxiety. She was throwing almost daily tantrums. She's much calmer now. It's a lot easier to transition her into things, like just kind of initiate for her that hey, it's time for us to start this now and start winding down. And she gets it. She knows that that's something that's good for her, that she wants, and she's more likely to do it now than she was before, where she just go to the mat for anything. She's just more emotionally resilient.
Yeah.
More confident. Because she's not as attached to mom, because as part of the training I took a more active role, and that was a big dynamic for our family. Was she had gotten to a place where she wouldn't listen or come to me for anything. She just kind of said everything was mom, and she would use that dynamic against us. But through the training, we created a space for me to be the coach, and that actually has been very helpful. It's freed up a lot of time for my wife. And just emotional capacity, and then it's created some good connectivity for me and my daughter. It's been really helpful to our relationship and our whole family dynamic. Her relationship with her sister is much better too. There's her sister's no longer suffocated and attached to her, so they both kind of have more desire to spend time together recreationally.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. So yeah, so you guys can see like there are so many benefits beyond sleep. So I just asked the question, what does it look like now? And what you guys actually described is what has become possible because she's sleeping, right? So, she used to go to bed at 9 and it was power struggle all the way up into that moment where somebody was held captive. And now she happily goes to bed, goes all the way through her routine, falls asleep at 7:20 on the dot, sleeps 11 hours solid, no wakings, wakes up happy, is less anxious during the day, less tantrums during the day. And actually we don't have her on film, but we talked to her before we had, our own little celebration call with her. And she said, I like it. I like going to bed now. I like my being in my bed. And she talked about this whole thing that dad just said is like after a busy day of school and after school activities, she likes the routine and she likes having that quiet time where she's in the bed.
Even if she wakes up before she's supposed to go to bed, she'll just stay in her bed now instead of coming to us.
Right.
Even if, if we try and get her to have some alone time, she'll have alone time and not have to follow us to every room of the house. She's not as attached to us at all times. It's been great.
Right. So we've really seen what's come out of the a well-rested child is emotional resilience and ability to be more confident and more independent,
Mhm.
and to trust herself,
Yeah.
that she's really trusting herself now.
She's proud. She's
Yeah.
proud of herself that she was able to do it.
Yeah. And I mean, we're just having this conversation after only working together a month. So I just invited the family, like, tell me how she is 4 months from now, because once we get this child well rested, everything starts to change. The family dynamic starts to change. And anyway, well, you guys, this has been amazing. So if you ran into a really sleep deprived family and they are like, it's a disaster, my kid doesn't sleep, like, what would be the one thing you would want them to know about what's possible about solving a sleep situation?
Your phone number. But other than that it's absolutely fixable, that it's not a problem you just have to live with. I was a terrible sleeper as a child, and even like probably not that great of a sleeper now, but I caused my family a lot of pain because I was such a bad sleeper, and they just didn't know that something like this was available. And I don't know that it was available that many years ago. So just really thankful for your expertise and research and knowledge. And it truly is a science, and it works.
Thank you. It works. Dad, what would you like to say if you bumped into a sleep deprived family?
Yeah, just go all in. It was as I mentioned, it was so worth it. A lot of dominoes are impacted by your kids' happiness, and it all starts with sleeping and the family dynamic around that. And it affected our marriage, it affected our relationships, it affected our daughter's relationships. It was so worth it. I'm so glad we did it. Thank you, Joanna, for
Yeah.
everything. Also, thanks for holding us accountable and being flexible with us. So, it was really, at the end of the day, in our minds, all of this, whether it was the little things on how to do what you were asking us to do, or thinking about how our daughter would process the things that we were talking about, we're like, that's just not going to work. Um, you know, I'm just so glad that we didn't let our own ideas about what was going to work or what wasn't going to work or what our timeline was going to be impact our momentum and progress through the process. Because once we committed, just said, kind of surrendered to the process and surrendered to working together, everything, the chips all fell where they needed to fall, and we're in a much better place. Sutton's in a much better path now than she was, or our daughter's in a much better path than what she was in. So we have you to thank for that.
Yes. Thank you so much, Dad. Well, sleep is bliss. We got you more.
Yeah.